Have you ever found yourself feeling guilty for taking a day off, indulging in your favorite food, or spending a little extra time taking care of yourself? Or perhaps you've been made to feel selfish for putting your needs first. Well, it's time to unpack these feelings and explore the fascinating intersection of self-love and what some might call selfishness. In this video, we'll dive deep into the minds of some of the most influential philosophers and psychologists from across the ages, thinkers who have dared to challenge the status quo and shed new light on the profound role self-love and selfishness play in our lives. We'll explore the revolutionary ideas of Friedrich Nietzsche, Carl Rogers, Abraham Maslow, Aristotle, Ayn Rand, Jean-Paul Sartre, Buddha, and Erich Fromm. We'll uncover the hidden wisdom in their teachings and apply their insights to our own lives. The world around us constantly sends us mixed signals about self-love and selfishness. On the one hand, we're encouraged to be selfless and considerate, to put others before ourselves. On the other hand, we're told that it's okay to love ourselves, that we should prioritize our own needs. These conflicting messages can leave us feeling confused and guilty, unsure about how to strike the right balance. And that's where the importance of today's topic comes into play, both in our personal and professional lives. By developing a better understanding of self-love and selfishness, we can lead healthier, more balanced lives. We can learn to set boundaries, to make time for ourselves, and to appreciate who we are, with all our strengths and weaknesses. And we can do this without feeling guilty or being perceived as selfish. Personally, I used to struggle with these very concepts. There were times when I would deprive myself of rest, fun, and even health just to avoid being seen as selfish. I would bend over backwards to accommodate others, often at the expense of my own well-being. It wasn't until I started studying philosophy and psychology that I began to realize the value of self-love and the necessity of a certain type of selfishness. These insights didn't just transform my personal life, they also had a profound impact on my professional life, leading to greater satisfaction and success. So, whether you're here out of curiosity in search of personal growth, or to gain insights that can boost your professional success, I believe this series has something valuable to offer you. Together, we'll challenge popular misconceptions, explore new perspectives, and embark on a journey towards a better understanding of ourselves and our place in the world. When we talk about self-love, we're not simply talking about pampering yourself with a spa day or treating yourself to a fancy meal. Though these acts can certainly be part of it, rather, self-love is a much deeper and more profound concept. It's about accepting ourselves in our entirety, with all our virtues, flaws, and everything in between. It's about acknowledging our intrinsic worth and treating ourselves with kindness and respect. Self-love is not about perfection. It's about acceptance. It's about understanding that we are works in progress and that it's okay to make mistakes. It's about giving ourselves the same compassion, understanding, and patience that we often extend to others. Self-love is not vanity or arrogance. It's about recognizing our humanity, our unique blend of strengths and weaknesses, and valuing ourselves for who we are. Self-love also involves taking care of our physical, emotional, and mental well-being. It's about making time for self-care, setting boundaries, pursuing our interests, and prioritizing our needs. It's about nourishing our bodies, stimulating our minds, and nurturing our souls. So, how does this connect with selfishness? This brings us to our next term. The term selfishness often carries negative connotations. It's typically used to describe someone who puts their interests above those of others, often to the point of causing harm or neglecting the needs of others. However, as with many concepts, there's more than one side to this story. In the context of our discussion, when we refer to selfishness, we're not talking about this harmful, neglectful behavior. Instead, we're referring to a healthier, more constructive form of selfishness, one that involves asserting our needs and making decisions that benefit our well-being, even if they may not always align with the expectations of others. This is the kind of selfishness that allows us to say no when we're overburdened, to pursue our passions even if they don't align with societal norms, and to prioritize self-care even when it may seem indulgent. It's the kind of selfishness that respects the needs of others, but acknowledges that we too have needs that are equally important. The relationship between self-love and selfishness might seem a bit complicated, but the two are closely intertwined. You see, in order to truly love ourselves, we must be somewhat selfish. We must be willing to prioritize our needs, to set boundaries, and to make choices that foster our well-being and happiness. And to be constructively selfish, we must first recognize our inherent worth, which in turn requires self-love. In essence, self-love and a healthy level of selfishness go hand in hand. They are two sides of the same coin, both crucial for our personal growth and well-being. This dynamic interplay between self-love and selfishness is what allows us to navigate life with resilience, confidence, and inner peace. But how did such concepts emerge? How have they evolved over time? And how do they fit into the grand tapestry of philosophical and psychological thought? As we journey through this video, we'll delve into these questions and more, exploring the fascinating perspectives of various philosophers and psychologists and uncovering the profound insights they offer. Remember, the goal here is not to encourage selfishness in the negative sense, disregarding others and causing harm. Instead, we hope to illuminate the path to a balanced, healthy sense of self, where you can assert your needs, value your worth, and still respect and care for those around you. We've now begun to delve into the depths of self-love and healthy selfishness, two concepts that are not only intricately connected, but also play pivotal roles in our mental health, personal growth, and overall well-being. Understanding why self-love is crucial to mental health takes us into the realm of neuroscience, psychology, and human behavior. For decades, psychologists and researchers have pointed out the direct link between the way we perceive ourselves and the state of our mental health. Let's visualize our minds as gardens. Now, a garden filled with love, positivity, and care is likely to flourish, right? Similarly, when our minds are imbued with self-love, they too can flourish. Self-love acts like a natural defense mechanism against the thorns of self-doubt, self-criticism, and negative self-talk, elements that can poison our mental garden, leading to anxiety, depression, and other mental health issues. When we practice self-love, we validate our own emotions and experiences. We tell ourselves that it's okay to feel the way we do, that our feelings are important. This validation can prevent emotional repression, a factor often linked with psychological distress. Self-love also equips us with the confidence to face life's challenges head-on. Instead of crumbling under pressure or succumbing to stress, we can stand tall, secure in the knowledge that we are capable and deserving of overcoming these hurdles. This resilience is fundamental for maintaining mental health and coping with life's ups and downs. But how does healthy selfishness fit into this picture? Well, if self-love is the soil in which our mental garden thrives, then healthy selfishness is the act of tending to that garden, ensuring it gets the nourishment it needs. Healthy selfishness is about acknowledging our needs and taking steps to meet them. It's about carving out time for ourselves amidst our busy schedules, prioritizing our well-being, and not being afraid to set boundaries. This act of placing importance on our needs encourages personal growth by allowing us to understand ourselves better, hone our skills, and pursue our interests. Moreover, it's through healthy selfishness that we learn the value of saying no, overcommitting, people-pleasing, and overextending ourselves. These are traps that many of us fall into, often at the cost of our own mental and emotional well-being. Learning to say no to things that drain us is an act of healthy selfishness, a crucial step in personal growth. When we combine self-love and healthy selfishness, they form a potent synergy that paves the way for a balanced, content, and fulfilling life. They allow us to maintain mental harmony, grow as individuals, and navigate life's journey with self-assuredness and resilience. By loving ourselves, we lay the foundation of our mental garden, making it fertile ground for positive thoughts, self-esteem, and resilience. With healthy selfishness, we nurture this garden, ensuring it gets the care, attention, and nourishment it needs to flourish. Together, these concepts guide us towards a life where we can stand tall, not swayed by the winds of external validation or approval, but firmly rooted in self-love and self-appreciation. They lead us to a place where we can strike a balance, honoring our own needs while respecting those of others. As we journey on, we'll continue to unearth the wisdom embedded in these concepts, guided by the profound insights of philosophers and psychologists who have illuminated the path to self-love and healthy selfishness. In their teachings, we will discover not just theoretical knowledge, but practical, applicable wisdom that can transform our lives. So let's step forward on this path, curious, open, and ready to learn. Our first stop, the influential psychologist Carl Rogers. Known as one of the founding figures of humanistic psychology, Rogers' theories have left an indelible mark on the field. Let's delve into his world and uncover his perspective on self-love. Carl Rogers, born in 1902, was a pioneer in his field. His focus on individual human experience and self-actualization was transformative and challenged the dominant psychoanalytic and behaviorist perspectives of his time. Rogers' approach was person-centered, emphasizing the innate goodness and potential for growth in every individual. His work, rich in compassion and empathy, has left a lasting legacy in psychology, counseling, and psychotherapy. Rogers believed that for a person to achieve a state of self-actualization, the highest level of psychological development, where one realizes their full potential, they need to experience unconditional positive regard. This term, coined by Rogers himself, refers to the total acceptance and love of oneself, regardless of behavior or circumstances. It is the very embodiment of self-love in Rogers' humanistic psychology. The key element here is unconditional. Rogers stressed that self-love should not hinge on conditions of worth. It should not depend on achievements, approval from others, or conforming to societal norms. Instead, he advocated for self-love that exists independently of these external factors, grounded in the understanding and acceptance of one's own unique intrinsic value. According to Rogers, self-love is not an act of vanity or arrogance. It's not about believing that you're better than others. Rather, it's about acknowledging your self-worth, being open to your own experiences and trusting in your own perceptions and feelings. Rogers believed that this unconditional self-love is fundamental for personal growth and self-actualization. When we love ourselves unconditionally, we create a safe space for exploration and self-understanding. We allow ourselves to make mistakes and learn from them, fostering personal growth. We also cultivate an internal locus of evaluation, wherein we trust our own judgments and don't rely solely on the opinions of others for validation. From Rogers' perspective, self-love also involves embracing our potential for change and growth. It's about recognizing that we are not static beings, but rather, we are continually evolving. Self-love, in this sense, means not only accepting who we are in the present moment, but also embracing who we can become. Moreover, Rogers' therapeutic approach was rooted in the belief that a therapist's role was to provide an environment of unconditional positive regard, empathy, and genuineness to foster self-love and growth in their clients. He proposed that when individuals are exposed to such an environment, they naturally move toward greater self-understanding, self-acceptance, and self-actualization. This illustrates Rogers' belief in the transformative power of self-love. Rogers' perspective on self-love not only revolutionized therapeutic practices, but also deeply resonates with our discussion. His ideas offer a fresh perspective, inviting us to embrace unconditional self-love and to see it as a gateway to personal growth and self-actualization. Now, we shift our lens to the work of another influential psychologist, Abraham Maslow. A pioneer of humanistic psychology, like Carl Rogers, Maslow's theories of self-actualization and the hierarchy of needs offer a compelling perspective on our discussion. Born in 1908, Abraham Maslow was a prominent American psychologist who left a significant impact on the field with his humanistic approach. This approach, often referred to as the third force in psychology, emphasized the inherent goodness of people and the importance of healthy psychological development. Maslow is perhaps best known for his theory of the hierarchy of needs, a model that continues to inform various fields, from psychology and education to business and marketing. At the heart of Maslow's work is the concept of self-actualization, which he placed at the pinnacle of his hierarchy of needs. Maslow described self-actualization as the ongoing process of realizing and fulfilling one's potential. This concept is closely related to our discussion of self-love and healthy selfishness, as it encapsulates the idea of personal growth and self-improvement. Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a pyramid, with physiological needs such as food and water at the base, and self-actualization at the top. According to Maslow, one must satisfy lower-level needs before they can pursue higher-level ones. Thus, before one can seek self-actualization, they must first fulfill their needs for safety, love and belonging, and esteem. This theory provides a fascinating lens through which we can view self-love and selfishness. Self-love in the context of Maslow's hierarchy can be seen as an essential element in satisfying these various needs. By practicing self-love, we acknowledge and attend to our needs from the physiological to the psychological. This act of self-care, which could be construed as a form of healthy selfishness, is a necessary step in the pursuit of self-actualization. Maslow also emphasized the importance of self-esteem in the hierarchy, underscoring the role of self-love and respect in personal growth. He proposed that individuals need to experience self-respect and the respect of others to progress up the hierarchy. Self-love plays a vital role here, as it forms the basis of self-esteem and self-respect. Furthermore, the pursuit of self-actualization itself can be viewed as an act of healthy selfishness. According to Maslow, self-actualization involves the pursuit of personal growth, fulfillment, and peak experiences. It's about becoming the best version of oneself. This pursuit, while arguably a form of selfishness, is a positive and healthy one, as it promotes personal development and fulfillment. By focusing on personal growth and the satisfaction of one's own needs, Maslow's theory gives a nod to the importance of a certain degree of selfishness in leading a fulfilling life. Yet, it's important to note that for Maslow, self-actualization also involved transcendence, giving to others, and recognizing a connection with the broader human community. Abraham Maslow's perspective adds another intriguing layer to our understanding of self-love and healthy selfishness. His work illuminates the path towards self-actualization, emphasizing the role of self-love in fulfilling our needs and the importance of healthy selfishness in our personal growth. Venturing into the realm of ancient wisdom, we now turn our gaze towards one of the most influential philosophers in history, Aristotle. His comprehensive work, covering areas from metaphysics to ethics and politics, has shaped centuries of thought and still holds valuable insights for our discussion on self-love and healthy selfishness. Aristotle, born in 384 BC, was a student of Plato and later became the tutor of Alexander the Great. He founded the Lyceum, a school in Athens, where he conducted courses at the school for over a decade. His work has profoundly influenced Western philosophy, serving as the foundation for many later philosophical theories and practices. Central to Aristotle's ethical philosophy is the concept of eudaimonia, often translated as happiness or flourishing. Aristotle proposed that eudaimonia is the ultimate goal of human life and thought. However, it is not a transient state of happiness or pleasure, but rather an enduring state of being that results from leading a life of virtue and achieving one's full potential. The idea of eudaimonia is intrinsically connected to the concepts of self-love and rational self-interest. Aristotle argued that self-love is not merely acceptable, but necessary for eudaimonia. To him, self-love was not a narcissistic endeavor, but rather it meant wishing for and working towards what is genuinely good for oneself. Aristotle's conception of self-love ties closely to his idea of rational self-interest. He proposed that by nature, we are rational beings who desire to realize our highest potential. Hence, genuine self-love requires the pursuit of virtue and wisdom, essentially becoming the best version of ourselves. It's a form of healthy selfishness where one seeks personal growth and fulfillment, not at the expense of others, but as a means to contribute positively to society. To comprehend how Aristotle's teachings apply to real life, let's delve into some practical implications. Suppose you're a musician, for instance. Embracing self-love, in the Aristotelian sense, would mean dedicating yourself to honing your craft, understanding and expressing your unique artistic voice, and reaching your highest potential. It's about recognizing your passion and potential, and using it to contribute to the world in your own unique way. Or consider a scenario where you're faced with a choice between pursuing a high-paying job that you don't enjoy or a lower-paying job that aligns with your passions. Following Aristotle's philosophy, the act of self-love would involve choosing the path that genuinely fulfills you and allows you to realize your potential, even if it may seem more challenging or less lucrative. These examples capture the essence of Aristotle's eudaimonia, a life of fulfillment achieved through the pursuit of virtue and personal excellence. In this regard, self-love and a certain degree of selfishness are not only desirable, but also essential. They drive us towards self-improvement and realization of our potential, contributing to our individual flourishing, and by extension, the betterment of our communities. Aristotle's wisdom illuminates a new dimension in our exploration of self-love and healthy selfishness, reinforcing the notion that these concepts are not contradictory but complementary facets of a fulfilling life. His philosophy invites us to reflect on our potential, our passions, and the choices we make, emphasizing the importance of virtuous self-love and rational self-interest in our quest for eudaimonia. Our journey now takes us to a controversial yet highly influential figure in the realm of philosophy and literature, Ayn Rand. Born in 1905 in Russia, Rand emigrated to the United States in the 1920s, where she developed her philosophical system known as objectivism, which is encapsulated in her novels like The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged. Rand's philosophy espouses a form of ethical egoism that she described as the virtue of selfishness, providing a distinctive perspective on our exploration of self-love and healthy selfishness. Ayn Rand's philosophy, objectivism, promotes the pursuit of one's own happiness as the highest moral aim. She advocated for a form of rational selfishness, where an individual's own life and happiness are their ultimate values. Objectivism maintains that each individual has a moral obligation to pursue their self-interest, reject altruism, and uphold individual rights. In her book, The Virtue of Selfishness, Rand explains that her concept of selfishness is not a disregard for others, but an unwillingness to sacrifice oneself for others. It's worth noting that Rand's notion of rational selfishness doesn't promote harm or exploitation of others. Instead, it's about living in a way that is true to oneself, that upholds one's values and ambitions, and ultimately leads to personal fulfillment. According to Rand, one's self-interest must be determined by the use of reason, avoiding the trap of instant gratification or short-term benefits at the expense of long-term well-being. To better understand Rand's perspective, let's dissect her view of rational selfishness. The term rational is crucial here. Rand's selfishness isn't about pursuing whims or momentary desires, but rather about actions based on reasoned and long-term self-interest. Rand argues that a truly selfish person would never harm others, lie, or steal because such actions would not be in their rational self-interest. It erodes trust, ruins relationships, and ultimately disrupts one's life. Furthermore, Rand's concept of selfishness involves a deep sense of self-respect and self-esteem. Similar to the way Aristotle discussed self-love, Rand's selfishness is about respecting oneself, honoring one's values, and pursuing personal growth and fulfillment. Rand posits that this kind of rational selfishness is actually a prerequisite for a just society. If each individual is focused on their rational self-interest and respects the equal rights of others to do the same, this would lead to a society where cooperation and mutual respect flourish. According to Rand, a world where everyone practices rational selfishness is a world of independent, fulfilled individuals, living harmoniously with respect for each other's rights. In our exploration of self-love and healthy selfishness, Ayn Rand presents a provocative perspective. Her advocacy for rational selfishness challenges conventional norms, pushing us to reevaluate our understanding of selfishness and its role in our lives. It's a stark reminder of the importance of living in alignment with our values, upholding our self-interest and recognizing the fundamental role this plays in our overall well-being and happiness. While some may see her philosophy as too radical or dismiss it as a cold-hearted endorsement of egocentrism, there's no denying the value in acknowledging and embracing our self-interest. By doing so, we not only move towards our personal fulfillment, but also contribute to a more honest, transparent, and ultimately harmonious society. Our philosophical exploration now directs us towards the tranquil realm of Stoicism, introducing a significant figure from this school of thought, Epictetus. Born into slavery around 55 AD in Phrygia, Epictetus rose to become one of the leading Stoic philosophers. Despite the hardships he faced in his early life, his teachings have provided valuable insights for centuries and continue to resonate today. Stoicism is a philosophy that champions virtue, wisdom, and morality as the highest forms of happiness. It teaches that while we may not have control over what happens to us, we can control how we respond. Stoic philosophy advocates for a calm acceptance of fate and circumstances while focusing on bettering ourselves through rationality, self-discipline, and virtue. Epictetus, as a prominent Stoic philosopher, is best known for his teachings on self-control and inner freedom. His works, particularly the Discourses and the Enchiridion, outline these principles in depth. According to Epictetus, we must recognize the difference between what's within our control, our thoughts, attitudes, and reactions, and what's not, external events, other people's actions, or opinions. This understanding forms the bedrock of his philosophy and the broader Stoic thought. Self-control, in the Epictetan sense, doesn't merely mean resisting temptations or impulsive actions. Instead, it's about controlling our reactions and emotions in response to external events. It's about understanding that our inner state, our peace, is not dictated by what happens to us, but by how we choose to respond. This perspective aligns strongly with self-love as it encourages us to take care of our mental and emotional health and uphold our inner peace. Stoicism gives great importance to self-care, emphasizing the need to maintain tranquility, emotional resilience, and moral integrity. Contrary to popular belief, self-care in Stoicism doesn't revolve around indulgence or physical relaxation alone. It is about maintaining harmony between mind, body, and soul, through practices like meditation, reflection, and physical wellness. It also involves nurturing our rationality, managing our emotions, and fostering virtue, all of which are inherently linked to self-love and rational self-interest. The teachings of Epictetus and Stoic philosophy echo the concepts of self-love and rational self-interest in profound ways. He urges us to prioritize our inner peace, foster rational thinking, and uphold our moral virtues, all forms of self-love and self-interest. but perhaps the most crucial overlap lies in the idea of maintaining self-control and inner freedom. This practice underscores the need for self-respect, self-awareness, and taking responsibility for our emotional well-being, essential components of self-love and rational self-interest. Implementing Epictetus's teachings into our daily lives can have profound effects. Suppose you find yourself stressed about a project at work. Instead of letting the anxiety consume you, apply Epictetus's principle of recognizing what's within your control. You can't control the project's outcome, but you can control how much effort you put in, how you manage your time, and how you react to stress. Or, if you're struggling with self-esteem, reminding yourself of Epictetus's teachings on inner freedom can be helpful. Realize that your worth isn't defined by external opinions or events, but by your virtues, your actions, and your inner peace. As we navigate the intricate labyrinth of self-love and selfishness, our next guide is the French philosopher and one of the key figures in existential philosophy, Jean-Paul Sartre. Born in 1905 in Paris, Sartre was a prolific thinker and writer, and his thoughts have profoundly influenced Western philosophy, especially existentialism and phenomenology. Existentialism, the philosophical movement that Sartre popularized, centers around the individual's unique experience in an indifferent or even hostile universe. This school of thought emphasizes personal freedom, choice, and responsibility. Existentialists believe that each individual is free to make their life's meaning, and this freedom, while liberating, also comes with the profound responsibility of choice. Sartre's philosophy famously revolves around the concept of existence precedes essence, suggesting that we as human beings exist first, and then each of us is responsible for shaping our essence or nature. This existential freedom is at the heart of Sartre's idea of authenticity, living in a way that's true to oneself, independent of societal norms or expectations. To Sartre, authenticity involves accepting this existential freedom and taking full responsibility for our actions, choices, and the consequences that follow. It's about acknowledging that we are the authors of our lives, and we can't blame others or external circumstances for our predicaments. In Sartre's own words, man is condemned to be free, because once thrown into the world, he is responsible for everything he does. At the junction of authenticity, self-love, and selfishness, we find intriguing connections. Sartre's authenticity correlates with self-love and healthy selfishness, as it demands we stay true to ourselves and prioritize our beliefs and values. It's about recognizing our desires, taking ownership of our choices, and living in alignment with who we truly are. It's about loving oneself enough to live authentically, even if it means going against societal expectations or norms. However, Sartre's authenticity isn't about navel-gazing selfishness, but about responsibility and freedom. It's not an excuse to disregard others or shirk responsibilities. Instead, it's a call to engage authentically with our freedom and the choices it entails. Here we find a subtle but important distinction from selfishness. While authenticity requires acknowledging and acting on our desires, it doesn't involve trampling on others to get what we want. To apply Sartre's concept of authenticity in real life, consider personal relationships. Authenticity would mean being honest about your feelings and needs, even when they're not in line with what your partner, friend, or family expects. It's about having the courage to express your true self and not compromising your values or integrity to please others. Or, in a professional setting, living authentically could mean choosing a career path that genuinely fulfills you, rather than one that is prestigious or lucrative. It's about acknowledging your passions and aspirations, and taking responsibility for the choices that align with them. Sartre's concept of authenticity provides a fascinating lens to explore self-love and healthy selfishness. His existential philosophy urges us to embrace our freedom, take responsibility for our lives, and dare to live authentically, enriching our understanding of self-love and selfishness. Now, as we continue on our philosophical journey, we steer towards the east and take refuge under the enlightening Bodhi tree of Buddhism. This ancient philosophy was born out of the teachings of Siddhartha Gautama, known as the Buddha, in the 6th century BC. The Buddha's teachings have echoed through time, providing wisdom and guidance to millions around the world. Buddha's teachings revolve around the Four Noble Truths, which identify the existence of suffering, its cause, its cessation, and the path leading to this cessation. This path, known as the Noble Eightfold Path, is the Buddha's prescription for freeing oneself from suffering and attaining nirvana, a state of ultimate peace and enlightenment. A central part of the Buddha's teachings is the middle way, also known as the Noble Eightfold Path. The middle way is a path of moderation, a course between self-indulgence and self-denial. It avoids both extremes, advocating instead for a balanced and mindful approach to life. The Buddha discovered this path after experiencing both opulent luxury and severe asceticism, realizing that neither brought true happiness or enlightenment. This is a comprehensive path that covers wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline. It consists of right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Together, these constitute a balanced approach to life that helps to free oneself from suffering. When we examine the middle way's implications on self-love and selfishness, a fascinating interplay becomes apparent. Self-love, from a Buddhist perspective, can be seen as a compassionate care for one's well-being, both physical and mental. It involves fostering wholesome states of mind and minimizing unwholesome ones. The practice of self-love aligns well with the middle way, as it involves taking care of one's self without falling into the extremes of narcissism or self-neglect. On the other hand, selfishness in Buddhism isn't inherently demonized. Instead, it's the unskillful or harmful expressions of selfishness that are discouraged, such as greed, hatred, and delusion. These are seen as roots of suffering that pull one away from the right path. However, a healthy sense of selfishness, like caring for one's well-being, is important in Buddhism, as it helps cultivate self-love and compassion, which are crucial in walking the middle way. Let's consider the practice of meditation, a fundamental part of Buddhist practice. Meditation can be seen as an act of self-love and healthy selfishness. It's a time you dedicate entirely to yourself, focusing inward and cultivating a tranquil and mindful state of mind. This practice aligns perfectly with the middle way, nurturing balance and avoiding extremes, like excessive outward focus or complete detachment. In a real-world context, the middle way can guide us to balance our personal and professional lives, taking care of our needs without neglecting our responsibilities towards others. It can inspire us to live healthily, neither indulging excessively in sensual pleasures nor denying ourselves joy and comfort. It teaches us to approach life with equanimity, understanding, and compassion, not just for others, but also for ourselves. The Buddha's middle way provides a compelling perspective on the delicate balance between self-love and selfishness. It encourages us to cultivate self-love and a healthy sense of self-interest without swinging to the extremes of self-indulgence or self-denial. As we delve deeper into our exploration, we turn our gaze to the mid-20th century, to the contributions of a German social psychologist, psychoanalyst, sociologist, and humanistic philosopher, Erich Fromm. Born in Frankfurt, Germany, in 1900, Fromm's ideas transcended academic fields, providing profound insights into human behavior, love, and society. Fromm is best known for his work The Art of Loving, published in 1956. In this seminal work, he presents love not as a sentiment easily swayed by passion or external factors, but as an art that one must cultivate and nurture. According to Fromm, the practice of love involves a sense of discipline, concentration, patience, and a transcendence of narcissism. Most importantly, it requires an ability to love oneself. Fromm's conception of self-love is far from the notion of narcissism or conceitedness. He emphasized that loving oneself and loving others are two sides of the same coin. They're inseparable. To Fromm, self-love means acknowledging one's own worth and not hating oneself for one's shortcomings. It's a deep appreciation for oneself that in turn allows for the genuine love of others. Fromm wrote, "In the experience of love lies the only answer to being human, lies sanity." He believed that an individual's mental health could not be separated from their capacity to love themselves and others. He argued that self-love and the love for others are intertwined, noting, "Love isn't possible without self-love, and self-love isn't possible without the love for others." In practical terms, Fromm's idea of self-love encourages us to maintain a balance between caring for ourselves and for others. It's about acknowledging our own needs and aspirations while respecting and caring for the needs and aspirations of others. It rejects the notion of self-love as a narcissistic, self-absorbed act, redefining it instead as an inclusive act that extends beyond the self. In our relationships, whether personal or professional, Fromm's idea encourages us to practice active listening, understanding, and mutual respect, stemming from the love we cultivate for ourselves and extend to others. It pushes us to be patient, not just with others, but also with ourselves, as we navigate through the challenges of life. In the realm of personal growth and development, Fromm's concept teaches us to embrace our flaws and work on them without hating or being too harsh on ourselves. It encourages a healthy level of self-critique and introspection, fostering personal growth and a better understanding of ourselves. Fromm's perspective on self-love as an integral part of loving others provides a crucial layer to our understanding of self-love and selfishness. His thoughts encourage us to recognize self-love not as an isolated, self-centered act, but as a vital step towards loving others and leading a wholesome life. As we journey through the different philosophies and psychological perspectives on self-love and selfishness, we find ourselves in a mosaic of ideas, each unique, yet sharing common threads. Comparing and contrasting these perspectives helps us appreciate their depth and diversity and guides us in integrating these principles into our daily lives. Starting with Carl Rogers, we saw that self-love is intrinsically tied to the concept of self-actualization. A positive view of oneself enables one to explore their potentials and capabilities fully. The concept of self-actualization resurfaces in Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, emphasizing self-love as a crucial element in fulfilling our highest potential. Aristotle's eudaimonia echoes similar sentiments, with the pursuit of happiness through self-realization and the achievement of personal excellence. On the other hand, Ayn Rand's objectivism introduces the idea of rational selfishness, arguing that pursuing one's self-interest when done rationally is the highest moral purpose. This contrasts with the Stoic perspective, represented by Epictetus, that advocates for self-control and inner freedom, seeking tranquility and virtue rather than immediate self-gratification. Jean-Paul Sartre's existentialist perspective throws us into the pursuit of authenticity, implying that self-love is about embracing our freedom and taking responsibility for our actions. Meanwhile, Buddha's middle way teaches us to navigate between the extremes of self-denial and self-indulgence, emphasizing the need for a balanced approach to self-love and selfishness. Erich Fromm bridges these different perspectives by presenting self-love as an art, crucial for our ability to love others. His work underscores the mutual interdependence between loving oneself and loving others. Despite their varied historical and cultural contexts, these philosophers and psychologists share an appreciation for the value of self-love and a balanced sense of selfishness. They all recognize, in one way or another, that self-love is not an act of vanity or narcissism, but a crucial part of human well-being and a key to a fulfilling life. The concept of selfishness, too, is reframed as a healthy act of caring for oneself and not an expression of disregard for others. In terms of applying these perspectives to contemporary life, we can take away several valuable lessons. Self-love is about recognizing our self-worth and treating ourselves with kindness and respect. It involves understanding and meeting our needs, whether physical, emotional, or psychological. Healthy selfishness, on the other hand, is about setting boundaries and making time for ourselves amid our busy lives. It's about asserting our interests while maintaining empathy and consideration for others. In a world that often demands us to put others' needs before our own, these philosophical and psychological perspectives remind us of the importance of taking care of ourselves too. After all, as the adage goes, you cannot pour from an empty cup. In the act of nurturing ourselves, we become better equipped to contribute to the world and enrich the lives of those around us. As we venture forth into our individual journeys, let these philosophers and psychologists be our guides. Let their insights illuminate our paths as we navigate the terrains of self-love and selfishness, as we endeavor to create a balance that fosters personal development and contributes to a good life. As you venture forth, hold on to the insight that self-love and balanced selfishness are not barriers to our growth, but catalysts for it. They form the undercurrent of a life that's not just good, but meaningful, fulfilling, and truly our own.